स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितां तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सवधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। मुखं करोति वाचलं भंगं लंघयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यैश्वरम्। हरि ओम तत्सत। हरे कृष्णा डियर डिवोटीज। हरे कृष्णा। So today we will discuss about this chapter on the liberation of Sārvabhauma. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 6. Today we will do from verse 212 to 238. I'll tell you why we will do from 212, although it has been 212 and 213 have been covered. See, when we divide a chapter into subsections, ideally we should be covering a total subsection every time we have this type of session. So 212 to 215, I think, is one subsection. And this subsection, 214, the subsection is on prayers of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya. Now, when we talk of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, we have to understand certain things. We have to know the identity. So there is this Gaura Ganodesha Deepika, which was written by Kavi Karnapura, and who is the son of Shivananda Sen. Shivananda Sen is a very intimate pastime of Gaurnitai. Now, Kavi Karnapura, he has who is he? He is also a Sakhi of Vraja. He is called Gunachuda Sakhi. And when he was a tiny tot, then he had the fortune of sucking the toes of Lord Chaitanya, and through the toes he got the essence of devotional service, bhakti. So bhakti entered into him. He has written that Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya was formerly Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the chief priest of the demigods, the Devas. Indra is the chief of the Devas, and the chief priestess Brihaspati. So he is called Deva Guru. and he is the foremost scholar in the heavenly planets. Now, this Brihaspati is the spiritual master of Uddhava, and we know that Uddhava was initially an impersonalist, and Krishna wanted to teach him train him about devotional service. So Krishna sent him to Vrindavan, representing him. And when he came to Vrindavan, he thought that he would teach Vedanta philosophy to the simpletons, the Vrajavasis. And the opposite happened. Instead of his teaching Vedanta philosophy from the impersonalist point of view, he got to know about the deepest mellows of devotional service, the rasas of devotional service, like the Vatsalya rasa and the Madhurya rasa. So those were the concepts that came to him. Finally, the same Uddhava desires, even now he desires to become a gulma, that means a grass in Vrindavan, so that the devotees of Vrindavan, the Vrajavasis, particularly the gopis, they stamp on him, and he bears their lotus feet on his head. So that is the status or the position that Uddhava wanted to have. So that also has an indication how devotional service is superior to impersonalism. Next, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya had a very elevated devotee as his relative, Gopinath Acharya. Now, Gopinath Acharya is also mentioned in this Ganodesh Dipika. He was Lord Brahma, the master of the universe. We know that Haridas Thakur is Lord Brahma, but like these elevated souls, they can come in different bodies. Even Gopinath Acharya is Lord Brahma, the master of the universe, who is considered one of the members of the Nava Vyuha, and who is the original teacher of the Vedas and Tantras. So, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya had Gopinath Acharya as his associate. So that was also like appreciated by Lord Chaitanya. And we were discussing the other day, how come Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya got so much of mercy. So, although he was one of the greatest impersonalists of his time, what is the proof of his impersonalism? There is a disciple of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya by name Raghunath Shiromani, and he is the star among logicians, Nyaya. All the Nyaya school of thought, they use the books written by this Raghunath Shiromani, and who is a disciple of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya in his earlier position as an impersonalist. Then obviously he got transformed, and this transformation is a proof that Lord Chaitanya, obviously one transformation was that of Jagai Madhai, but this is also another transformation. Jagai Madhai was more of a Naradhama who was transformed. Here, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya is more of a monist. And transforming a monist is like a bigger capability of Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya is considered to be like touchstone. You will not be able to identify touchstone, seeing a touchstone, but you will be able to identify touchstone when it touches iron and iron gets converted into gold. So, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya initially could not identify Lord Chaitanya, but when Lord Chaitanya transformed Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, obviously through the exchanges that they had, which is a very, very important exchange. It is Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya is almost similar to Sukdev Goswami, who was also an impersonalist but got transformed because of Bhagavad Dharma and the four Kumaras. The four Kumaras were also impersonalists, and they were also transformed by the smell of the the tulsi leaves of the lotus feet of the Lord. Now, coming to the verses, I will have to share screen. Can I? Yes, I can. Hare Krishna. Everyone can see the screen? Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. So this is a repetition of verse 212 and 213 because this is part of a subsection. Tobe Bhaṭṭācārya Prabhu Shusthiro Korilo Sthir Hoya Bhaṭṭācārya Bahu Stuti Koilo. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pacified the Bhaṭṭācārya, and when he was quieted, he offered many prayers to the Lord. So what happened before that is also significant. We will just touch upon, because in the end there was one question which was raised end of last session, and I will also try to do some justice to that. So 213 goes like this. Jagat nishtarile tumi sheho alpakarjo ama uddharile tumi e shokti ascharjo. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya said, my dear sir, you have delivered the entire world, but that is not a very great task. Even Jagai Madhai deliverance was not a great task. However, you have also delivered me, a monist, and that is certainly the work of a very wonderful powers. We'll have to discuss this. Then 214. This is the verse from where we are supposed to start today. Torko Shastre Jodawami Joiche Loho Pindo Ama Drobaile Tumi Prota Prochondo. Translation goes like this. Will anybody read this translation? Because this translation is very important.
Can I read, Prabhu?
Please, go ahead.
I had become dull-headed due to reading too many books on logic. Consequently, I had become like an iron bar. Nonetheless, you have melted me, and therefore your influence is very great.
Hare Krishna. See, this particular verse goes like this. Reading too many books on logic. And we know that from the 64 limbs of devotional service, reading too many books which do not lead to devotional service is unfavorable to performing devotional service. And so Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya understood that he had become dull-headed, although he is supposed to have been at that point of time one of the stalwarts of this Vedanta philosophy. And then he said, consequently, I had become like an iron bar. So this is extremely important to understand. What is this iron bar? Hard like an iron. And then, obviously, the next statement he makes as, you have melted me. So melting of iron. So obviously, like we have discussed this, Lord's power, Lord's influence has been great. So this iron bar is compared with Mayavad philosophy. And obviously Nyaya. Mayavad, see, in Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, verse 26, Kunti Devi talks about Janma, Aishwarya, Sruta, and Sribis. Means Janma means birth, opulence, education, and beauty. Most of us, we are eager to enjoy these attributes. But when somebody does not have attractions for these attributes, then one has another type of attraction. That is an attraction to become one with the Supreme. That is the reason why Srila Prabhupada says it is the final snare of Maya, illusory energy. In Maya, in this philosophy, the material world is considered neither real nor unreal, and individuality, and even Lord's individuality is Maya. So it considers Maya to be a imposing factor as long as we are in this material world. Then when we break this Maya, then we become Brahman. Lord is also considered to be a Jiva, but with supernatural powers, who also becomes Brahman. Because it's from Brahman that Lord appears. This is the understanding of Mayavadis. So they follow a book called Saririka Bhashya of Shankaracharya, in which the transcendental form of the Lord is denied. And the Mayavadi philosophers think that living entity is identical with the Supreme Soul, Brahman. And their commentaries on Vedanta Sutra are completely opposed to the principle of devotional service, which is the reason why Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya is saying, I have become dull-headed, having known all that, and this is like an iron bar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, obviously, Mayavadi bhashya sunile hoy sarbonash. Means one becomes doomed. Whenever we think of Mayavad, I have a question. What comes to our mind? What are the various concepts that come to our mind whenever we think of Mayavad?
Impersonalism, Prajna.
Impersonalism comes to our mind. All right. Many thoughts come to our mind. What else comes to our mind?
On a lighter side, Prabhu.
Could be any side.
No. I'm just saying on a lighter side. Whenever the topic of Mayavada comes, I remember V.P. Govinda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu is here. So
I have noted.
Because we had exchange of very deep discussion on this topic. Every time Prabhu raises very interesting deep dive into this topic, and very nice discussion we always have.
Hare Krishna, very nice. You know what Visheshika Prabhu said about Mayavad? He used only one word. The moment you talk of Mayavad, run. It's a run away. Hare Krishna. Yeah, what else comes to our mind when we talk of Mayavad? Because we are trying to decipher why Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya used the term iron bar. Yes.
Prabhu, merging with the Lord.
Merging with the Lord. That is also one concept. That Mayavadis, they proclaim. Anything else?
You are Narayana, I am Narayana, everyone is Narayana.
Om Namo Narayana. I am Narayana, you are Narayana. Yes. What else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. When Lord descends, so he comes under the control of Maya.
He comes under the control of Maya is extremely important point that they raise. Correct. So they give Maya more importance compared to the Lord. As long as we are in the material world.
Prabhu, one thing else they say that Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya.
They consider the world to be unreal. Yes. See, actually, you know what? This Advaita philosophy has been tweaked a lot of times, and like to suit their concepts of oneness. Many times I'll go ahead. Obviously, this unreal, they have a sense of escapism. They want to escape this material miseries. Yes, and that is the reason why they use scriptures. but they misinterpret scriptures. So what does the Acharyas talk about Mayavadis? What do they do ultimately? They commit spiritual
Suicide.
Correct. Yeah. And that means why spiritual suicide? Because they get rid of their own individuality. Do they believe in personal form of the Lord?
No.
No, Prabhu.
No, they don't have. So when they worship, what exactly is their thought process? You can worship anything and anyone. So particularly if you want to worship Krishna, that is not what they are professing. But if you want to worship Krishna, go ahead. But by that process, if you are able to reach that Brahman, nothing like it. That is what they have. So ultimately, in what condition are they? They are in illusion themselves. Just 1 second. We have to go back to sharing. Now, one point that needs to be known, they even consider there are some sects that consider spiritual master to be God. Most of the transcendentalists, if you talk to, they will say, my spiritual master is God. So they have impersonalism built in their system. Maybe in the course of time, impersonalism happens. But what does the Vedantists, what does the devotees say? They quote Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur saying, Sakshat Dharidvena Samasta Shastrayar. Then all the scriptures talk about Sakshat Dharidvena. A devotee is as good as Narayan, not by becoming Narayan, but by becoming the most confidential servant of Narayan. So spiritual master is the most confidential servant of Narayan. Now this particular verse, if you see, Sakshat Dharit Vena, it is not mentioned as Sakshat Hari or Dhari. It's not Sakshat Hari. It's Dharit Vena. So Dharit Vena has this syllable Twa that indicates that Guru has the qualities of Hari or Krishna. That is the reason why, if you see this verse, it's such an important verse. We are daily reciting this verse, but we don't give importance to this verse. Kintu prabhorya priya eva tasya. Prabhor. Prabhor means this is not Advaita, this is duality. There is a Prabhu and there is a Priya. So Prabhu is one who is the master, and Priya is the one who is the servant of the Lord. So there is a difference between this monists and devotees. Now, actually, tell me one thing. Does the modern world, modern education teach impersonalism? Acha, yeah, please go ahead. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Nitya Narsingha Prabhu. All right. Does the modern world teach impersonalism? See, in impersonalism, in monism, you lose your identity. Does the modern world also profess loss of identity?
Yes, Prabhu.
How?
Because they believe there is no rebirth.
There is no rebirth. Modern,
And
I'm
what
talking of modern situation. I mean, that is, I mean, don't talk about other religious texts or other religious practices. I'm talking of modern systems. For example, let us take automation. Does automation lead to, I mean, is like a manifestation of impersonalism? I'll give you an example. For example, say you want to buy certain things. Earlier days, what we used to do, we used to go to a shop, talk to a shopkeeper. Shopkeeper would have kept some items, some wares. We would look at them. Then we would discuss about the features. Then ask about the price. Then haggle the price. And then the shopkeeper also discusses about what is our need and things like that. So there is a sort of an exchange of notes that goes on with a shopkeeper. So there is individuality. Today, when you buy, what do you do?
Yes, Prabhu. So there automation means there is no interaction between human being. So computer is doing everything.
Yes. So there is no relationship. Modern education is also building up the concept of impersonalism. So you will see impersonalism everywhere. So that is the reason why it's called the Iron Age. And the Iron Bar is a apt discussion on this.
But Prabhuji, what about our what about our Zoom class?
Zoom class, see, Zoom class is slightly different because Zoom class is using the concept of utility is the principle. Same utility, we are not interacting we are not having a congregation, physical congregation, but don't you think this is a congregation? Congregation at least of minds. We might be separated by so-called distance. But as far as time is concerned, as far as words are concerned, aren't we near? I am able to hear you, you are able to hear me. And we are able to exchange notes. So exchanging notes is so important. So there is a respect given to individuality. So that is the reason why Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya is now saying iron bar melted. And our Shastras talk about Vedanto Vakyeshu Sada Ramantaha. I mean, enjoy the studies of Vedanta Sutra, not becoming so harsh that you are considering even the Lord to be under the control of Maya. And the bhakti is the deepest default, an antidote to all the wrongs and ecological crisis in the world of personalism. Using the word, using personalism. This is called amorphism. See, in our institution, there was one devotee who came initially. He was like looking around, and he came to a temple. When he entered the temple, he saw the altar. He saw some figures out there. Well and good, there are figures. The figures are matching with our bodies, so no problems. 2 hands, 2 legs, one face, and there is a face. There is a lady's face also. Oh, so nice. But then he sees a stone, and he is like surprised. What are these guys doing? They are worshipping a stone. Then the curtain closes. After some time, they see a tree. He sees a tree and they are worshipping a tree. What sort of a movement is this? Worshipping stone, worshipping tree. So later on, he came to realize the stone is Giridhari and the tree is Tulsi plant, Tulsi Devi. He obviously turned into a devotee because he liked that. He was a nature lover. And he found that, oh, this movement at least is giving face to even non-moving and moving entities. To that extent, the Vaishnava culture gives importance to individuality, which is the reason why in Vaishnava culture we don't have what is called cruelty to animals. Then bhakti develops in pursuance of Vedanta philosophy. This is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Tat shraddhadhana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashyanti atmani chatmanam bhaktya sruta gritaya. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has learned from Vedanta Sruti. Now, the same Vedanta Sruti is used by the monists to justify their concept of oneness. So there is this famous example when there was one monist, impersonalist, who came and wrote on a board, "Soham." Then a devotee comes and sees that board and he doesn't like the word, so he writes DA. He adds DA to that, Dasoham. Then the next day, this impersonalist comes there and he says, hey, what is this? Who has changed my writing? So here he adds a essay, Sadasoham. Eternally I am him. The devotee comes, the devotee adds Dasa Dasoham. So that is how impersonalism or Mayavadi differentiates. Impersonalism and Mayavadi, they are slightly different, but Mayavadi is worse. Impersonalism to a certain extent accepts the personal form of the Lord, but considers the personal form of the Lord to be inferior to the impersonal form of the Lord. Now, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, in his Sharanagati, he writes like this. Vishoy vimudha ar mayavadi jon, bhakti shunno duhe pran dhare akaran. People who are bewildered by sense objects and monist philosophers who believe in oneness of the living entities and the Supreme Lord, both are devoid of devotional service and carry on with life air without purpose. So what he says, so I offer my prayers unto your lotus feet that these two types of associations do not happen to me. Then he says, very interesting, between these two, the gross materialists are still better. Means he is comparing a karmi with a monist. Anytime I do not seek the association with monist philosophers, anytime I do not seek the association of monist philosophers who believe in oneness of the living entities and the Supreme Lord. So he is discarding, but he is approving a karmi compared to a monist. When the hearts of the gross materialists enter into the association of saintly persons, he is giving a reason why he accepts a karmi. Because a karmi can have association of saintly persons and become a devotee of the Lord by mercy of the devotees. In whoever's heart the contamination of monist philosophy that believes in oneness of the living entities and the Supreme Lord enters, the heart of such a person becomes hard, like the thunderbolt because of fallacious logic. This is basically the verse that we were doing. So hard like iron bar. Monist philosophies who believe in oneness of the living entities and the Supreme Lord declare the identity of devotional service, object of devotional service like Lord Krishna, shelter of devotional service like the devotees, all as transitory and illusory. Means they are under the control of Maya. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is like fie on his presence of service to Lord Krishna and on his hearing and chanting of his glories. His so-called prayers are like thunderbolts hurled at the limbs of Lord Krishna. So they are basically like contaminated. There is nothing as unfavorable to the devotional service unto the Supreme Lord as a monist philosophy that believes in oneness of the living entities and the Supreme Lord. Therefore, I do not desire the association of such monist philosophers. Finally, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Bhaktivinoda keeps far away the monist philosophy that believes in oneness of the living entities and the Supreme Lord, and situated in the association of devotees of Lord Vishnu, takes the shelter of the holy name of the Supreme Lord. So, Mayavadis. Now, this Mayavadi called Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya was transformed. One of the reasons was obviously because Lord Chaitanya considered him to be associating with his relative Gopinathacharya. That is obviously not a very, could be a one factor. Another factor was the way Lord explained the verse, Atma Rama verse, compared to the way Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya explained that same verse. Lord revealed how this particular concept of monism or Advaita came about. When he, in verse 182, he talked about how Lord Shiva was advised or instructed by the Lord to remove this atheistic Buddhist philosophy from society. Then finally, Lord Chaitanya showed him some forms. It is mentioned in verse 202 that showed him his Vishnu form, and which is this four-handed form, and then appeared in his original form of Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. A blackish complexion and a flute to his lips. This was the ultimate. When after this, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya was totally convinced and he fell at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Now, in similar sort of a context, we find in Bhagavad Gita, universal form when Lord showed several forms in chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita. First, he showed the universal form. Then he showed what is called the Kal Roop, the most dangerous form, which and the universal form had multiple hands, multiple limbs and multiple heads. Then the Kal Roop, which was very dangerous form. And then finally the four-handed form of Narayan. And lastly, the two-handed form. Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that this two-handed form is the all-encompassing form. All other forms are part of this two-handed form. Brahma Samhita is also saying the same thing. And you will see in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 21 on qualities of Krishna, I have noted that there are 5 qualities of Krishna which are manifest in the body of Narayan. This Narayan form was shown. And they are, he has inconceivable potency, unaccountable universes generate from his body. Where is Krishna and all these universes getting generated from the body? That means he's Mahavishnu. That means Mahavishnu is also part of Krishna, which is the reason why this verse, you will see, this verse of Brahma Samhita, the Mahavishnu into whom all the innumerable universes enter and from whom they come forth again, simply by his breathing process, is a plenary expansion of Krishna. Therefore, I worship Govinda, Krishna, the cause of all causes. So when Lord Chaitanya showed him the 200 Krishna form, blackish complexion with flute in hand, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya was convinced. And obviously there are other qualities. He is the original source of all incarnations. He is the giver of salvation to the enemies whom he kills. He is the attractor of liberated souls. All these transcendental qualities are manifest wonderfully in the personal feature of Lord Krishna. Obviously, these are only 5. Before this, there were 50 features which are there in the most elevated jivas, like Lord Brahma, and then 55 which are there in Lord Shiva. And further to this, there are 4 features which are unique to Krishna of Goloka, Krishna of Vrindavan. Verse 215. Before I continue with verse 215, because all right, I will complete verse 215. Stuti shuni Mahaprabhu nijo vasha aila Bhaṭṭācārya acharya dware bhikkha kar aila. After hearing the prayers offered by Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence. And the Bhaṭṭācārya, through Gopinath Acharya, induced the Lord to accept lunch there. A short break for questions. If any questions on this particular portion of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Because the topic will change after this.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So you mentioned about Uddhava, and he was impersonalist. But when he met Nanda Maharaj, he said, your son is Lord Narayan, and he is pervading everywhere. So even he is not with you, but still with you. So is it related? He was impersonalist, or he was having knowledge of Lord Narayan?
So that is a very good point. Thank you, Prabhu. This is one of the differences between a Mayavadi, who is like a totally anti Supreme Lord, Absolute Truth, and an impersonalist. An impersonalist, he obviously is a Brahmavadi, and he wants to like come out of the miseries, but he has an understanding of the personal feature of the Lord. Only thing is, he considers Brahman to be, the realization of Brahman to be ultimate. So he has an idea of Krishna being the all-pervading Narayan, the Paramatma. Krishna being Paramatma of this material world. That concept he has. But the other concept that he has is Brahman, which is part of the spiritual sky. Brahman is the realization that one has to attain to come out of this material misery. That is a difference between an impersonalist and a Mayavadi. That means Uddhav was not a Mayavadi. He was an impersonalist. Similar to Sukdev Goswami and the 4 Kumaras. But Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya appears to be not just an impersonalist, he was also a Mayavadi. And Chaitanya Charitamrita has addressed this concept of monism or Mayavadi out here in this particular chapter, as well as in the chapter where Lord Chaitanya is interacting with Prakashananda Saraswati in Banaras. There, I mean, one has to read the purports of Srila Prabhupada out there in the exchange with Prakashananda Saraswati and marvel at the deep understanding of Srila Prabhupada on this particular topic of difference between personalism and impersonalism. Actually, Prabhuji, see, when we talk of Achinta Ved Aved, which Lord Chaitanya professed, there is a Abhed also. So there is a fine line between personalism and impersonalism. It is not that you have to discard impersonalism. because Brahman is an effulgence of the Lord. So that there is, and all the, and energy and energetic. Energetic is supreme, and energy is also emanation from the Lord. So that concept has to be understood by us and will have to be accepted by us. But whenever it comes to Mayavad we have to refute by following scriptures. Okay, they will also follow scriptures, we will also follow scriptures, and then we'll have to find out a way out. How? By following our acharyas, because our acharyas like Ramanuja Acharya, Jiva Goswami, they have really dealt with the subjects at length.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So let us continue with the next section. The next section talks of how the transformed Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya behaved. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya's faith in Jagannath Prasad. Adin Prabhu gela Jagannath darshane, darshan korila Jagannath Sajjothane. Lord used to go to Jagannath temple every day. And then he used to normally collect Jagannath Prasad and come to Haridas Thakur's place at Siddha Bakul to give Haridas Thakur, because Haridas Thakur was avoiding going inside Jagannath temple. But here what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, let us see. Early the following morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to see Lord Jagannath in the temple, and he saw the Lord rise from his bed. Pujari aniya mala prasadanno dila, prasadanno mala paya prabhu harsha hoila. The priest there presented him with garlands and prasadam that had been offered to Lord Jagannath. This pleased Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very much. Shei prasadanno mala anchale bandhiya Bhaṭṭācārya ghare aila tora yukto hoiya. Carefully tying the prasadam and garlands in a cloth, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hastened to the house of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya. Orunodoy kale hoilo prabhuro agomon, sei kale Bhaṭṭācāryaro hoilo jagaron. He arrived at Bhaṭṭācārya's house a little before sunrise, just when the Bhaṭṭācārya was arising from bed. So Lord Chaitanya anyway doesn't sleep. So he rose very early and went to the temple. And fortunately, Jagannath had woken up. And obviously, like there is always an exchange between Lord Jagannath and Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Jagannath would be also so eager to have darshan of Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya would be eager to have darshan of Lord Jagannath. So then Bhaṭṭācārya has just gotten up, and that is before sunrise. Krishna Krishna Phuto kohi Bhaṭṭācārya jagila, Krishna naam suni prabhuro anando badila. Then what did Bhaṭṭācārya do? The moment he woke up, as Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya arose from the bed, he distinctly chanted Krishna Krishna. Lord Chaitanya was very pleased to hear him chant the holy name of Krishna. So it's a transformed personality. Otherwise, he would have said, as he got up, Om Namo Narayana. Instead, he is chanting Krishna Krishna. Bahire Prabhuro teho paila darshan, aste vaste ashi koilo charan bandhan. The Bhaṭṭācārya noticed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu outside, and with great haste he went to him and offered prayers unto his lotus feet. Boshite ashon diya duheta boshila, prasadanno khuli prabhu tar hate dila. The Bhaṭṭācārya offered a carpet for the Lord to sit upon, and both of them sat there. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened the prasadam and placed it in the hands of Bhaṭṭācārya. Prasadanno paya Bhaṭṭācāryaro anando hoilo, snan sandha danto dhavan jaddopi na koilo. At that time, the Bhaṭṭācārya had not even washed his mouth, nor had he taken his bath. or finished his morning duties. Nonetheless, he was very pleased to receive the prasadam of Lord Jagannath. Chaitanya prasade monero sob jaddo gelo ei slok pori onno bhakkhan korilo. By the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the dullness in the mind of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya was eradicated. After reciting the following 2 verses, he ate the prasadam offered to him. What are the verses? Shushkam paryusitam vapi nahnitam vadura deshatah prapti matrena bhoktavyam natra kala vicharana. The Bhaṭṭācārya said, one should eat the Mahaprasadam of the Lord immediately upon receiving it. Even though it is dried up, stale, or brought from a distant country, one should consider neither time nor place. Then he again recites, Na desha niyamas tatra, na kala niyamas tatha, praptam annam drutam shishtair, bhoktavyam harir abhravet. The prasadam of Lord Chaitanya is to be eaten by gentlemen as soon as it is received. There should be no hesitation. There are no regulative principles concerning time and place. This is the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And these 2 verses are from Padma Puran. And this reminds of the famous verse we sort of memorized during our NOD days, Bhakti Shastri. Ata Sri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indrayah sevan mukhehi jivadav swayam eva spurati yadaha. So, using the tongue, 2 things can be done. 1, chanting. 2 is honoring prasadam. So, this is what Bhaṭṭācārya, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya has exemplified by honoring prasadam, even though he had not washed his mouth after getting up in the morning. And obviously, we know how important prasadam is, because like when we take prasadam, remnants, this is Mahaprasadam. This is not normal prasadam, because we know about the pastime of Narada, who went to Lakshmi Devi and asked for prasadam. Then, but Lord had earlier instructed that my remnants cannot be given to anybody. Later on, obviously, Lord agreed, and Narada got prasadam of the Lord. And Narada, after having prasadam, he was dancing around, and he went to Kailash. At Kailash, he found his brother, Lord Shiva, out there, because both of them have been born from, in this universe, born from Brahmaji. And Lord Shiva immediately asked, what is the cause of your dancing and your ecstasy? And Narada said that I have had prasadam of the Supreme Lord. And Lord Shiva said, where is my portion? And unfortunately, Narada had eaten everything, but he had also not washed his hands. And so in the hand, in the tip of the finger, there was some little bit of item remaining, and Lord Shiva, he picked it up and put it in his mouth, and he also started dancing. The amount of dancing that he did appeared to be like Tandav, and everybody got very afraid, went to Mother Parvati, asked Mother Parvati to stop her husband. Mother Parvati came running. What happened? What happened? And Swami, then Swami said, I had prasadam. Then where did you have prasadam? And I had prasadam from Narada. And where did Narada get prasadam? Narada got prasadam from Vaikuntha. But where is my share of the prasadam? I am supposed to be your Ardhangini. And Lord Shiva said, wow, I forgot. In the ecstasy, I forgot. And then Mother Parvati got very angry. Her anger brought Lord Vishnu down, and Lord Vishnu then, and she asked, see, I did not get prasadam. No, neither all my children got prasadam, because this is Devi Dham. In Devi Dham, it is everybody is her children. So nobody has got prasadam. Now you have to organize such that everybody gets prasadam. So then Lord said, all right, in Nilachal, I will be in the form of Jagannath, and there you be in the form of Bimla Devi, and all my prasadam will go to you first. Then when you have, it becomes Mahaprasadam, that Mahaprasadam will be distributed. So whatever prasadam that Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya got was Mahaprasadam. And Chaitanya Charitamrita talks about, reveals a secret. Bhakta pada dhuliyar, bhakta pada jal, bhakta bhukta avashesho tin mahabal. Means remnants of food left by a devotee is one of the three very powerful tool for progressing in spiritual life. So that is the reason why Jagannath Prasadam is so important and so potent. Dekhi anondito hoilo Mahaprabhur mon, premavisto hoya Prabhu koilo alingon. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to see this. He became ecstatic in love of Godhead and embraced Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya. Dui jone dhori duhe karen nartan Prabhu bhritto duha sparsho doharo fulemon. The Lord and the servant embraced each other and began to dance. Simply by touching each other, they became ecstatic. Sweda kampasru duho anande bhashila premavisto hoya Prabhu kohite lagila. As they danced and embraced, spiritual symptoms manifested in their bodies. They perspired, trembled, shed tears, and the Lord began to speak in his ecstasy. Now, anyway, the Lord is holding Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya. The moment, and this functions like, and Lord is like touchstone. Lord is, so the entire osmosis is taking place. All the ecstasy of the Lord is entering into the body of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya. So he is into bhava, the stage of bhava. Our entire sadhana, our entire process of Vaidhi Bhakti, entire process of Raganuga Bhakti, we have understood the goal of all that is Bhava Bhakti. And Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, a monist, he is entering into that position by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Aji mui anayase jininu tribhuvana, aji mui korinu vaikuntha arohana. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, today I have conquered the three worlds very easily. Today I have ascended to the spiritual world. Why? Because a person like Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya has shown that he has got totally transformed into a pure devotee. The goal of human perfection is stated. So the goal is anyway to go back home to Godhead, and not to obviously the Brahma Jyoti. That is the goal. So we have this Golok chart in which we would have seen this Golok chart. Our goal is this the top pink portion, and obviously like we will not belittle anyone who is attracted by the blue portion, which is the Vaikuntha planets where Narayan resides. Because we have been trained by Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and they are all supposed to be residents of Vrindavan, including Srila Prabhupada. And because of that guidance that we have got, being Rupanuga as well as Prabhupadanuga, we are targeting to go back to Godhead, to the Goloka, the ultimate Vaikuntha planet. But does a pure devotee really desire to go to Vaikuntha planet? A pure devotee does not. A pure devotee always wants to, in whatever situation one is, pure devotee wants two things. One is association with other devotees, and two is always serving the Lord. And never to be in a situation in which he has to forget the Lord. Aji mor purno hoilo sarvabilash, Sārvabhaumare hoilo Mahaprasad Vishwas. So Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya has acquired faith in Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath. That is the reason why Lord Chaitanya is saying, I think that today all my desires have been fulfilled. So anyway, why has the Lord descended? The Lord has descended to freely deliver the topmost, the Krishna Prema, the Rasa, the Rasamrita, the Bhakti Rasamrita to the entire living entities, all the living entities. আজি তুমি নিষ্কপটে হইলা কৃষ্ণাশ্রয়, কৃষ্ণ আজি নিষ্কপটে তোমা হইল সদয়। Indeed, today you have undoubtedly taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, and Krishna without reservation has become very merciful toward you. আজি সে খণ্ডিল তোমার দেহাদি বন্ধন, আজি তুমি ছিন্ন কইলে মায়ারও বন্ধন। So, my dear Bhaṭṭācārya, today you have been released from material bondage in the bodily conception of life, and you have cut to pieces the shackles of the illusory energy. So these are two side benefits of devotional service. So you remove all inauspiciousness, because pure devotional service is all auspiciousness. And it obviously removes the shackles of illusory energy, Maya. আজি কৃষ্ণ প্রাপ্তি যোগ্য হইল তোমার মন, বেদ ধর্ম লাঙ্ঘি কইলে প্রসাদ ভক্ষণ। Today your mind has become fit to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, because surpassing the Vedic regulative principles, you have eaten the remnants of food offered to the Lord. Then comes a very important verse. Esham saesha bhagavan dhyayed anantaha sarvatmanasrita pado yadi निर्भयालिकम ते दुष्टराम अति तरंती च देव मायाम नैषाममाहम इति धी स्वश्रीगाल भक्षये. Translation. Anybody could read the translation?
When a
Hare
person
Krishna,
takes shelter, when a person takes shelter of the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead without reservation, the unlimited merciful Lord bestows his causeless mercy upon him. Thus, he can pass over the insurmountable ocean of nescience. Those whose intelligence is fixed in the bodily conception, who think, I am this body, are fit food for dogs and jackals. The Supreme Lord never bestows his mercy upon such people. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, verse 42. And it very clearly identifies difference between body and soul. And even Bhagavad Gita is also talking of Dehinoshmin yatha dehe komaram yavanam zara. So this bodily concept is something which requires to be removed, and then the Lord's mercy flows in. Without surrendering unto the lotus feet of Krishna, one cannot expect release from the clutches of Maya, the illusory energy. And according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, verse 32, Mayavadi sannyasis who falsely think of themselves as liberated from the clutches of Maya are vimukta maninaha. Actually, they are not liberated, but they think they have got liberated and have become Narayan themselves. So this was the condition of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, but he has now become qualified for real liberation. Because it's obviously said, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. This Bahunam janmanam indicates that anyone who has been able to accept Vasudeva in this life would have done impersonalism for many, many lifetimes. And then finally, like maybe some life would have got some mercy of either Krishna or the devotees of Krishna. Last three verses. Ato kohi Mahaprabhu আইলা নিজ স্থানে সেই হইতে ভট্টাচার্যের খণ্ডিল অভিমানে. After speaking to Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence. From that day on, the Bhaṭṭācārya was free because his false pride had been dismantled. False pride, I and mine, the concept of I and mine, it's all gone. Chaitanya charan vine nahi jane an bhakti vinu shastrero ar na kore vyakhyan From that day on, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya did not know anything but the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and from that day he could explain the revealed scriptures only in accordance with the process of devotional service. Seeing that Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya was firmly fixed in the cult of Vaishnavism, Gopinath Acharya, the devotee in his family, his brother-in-law, began to dance, clap his hand, chant Hari Hari. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. With this completes one section, subsection of chapter 6, liberation of Sārvabhauma. Hare Krishna. If there are questions, comments, if there are corrections, please.
Hare Prabhu. So nicely, wonderfully explained. Practically, we were witnessing what is happening there in Jagannath Puri, and believe me, even I could sense the taste of Mahaprasad, which Chaitanya Prabhu is giving. I can feel that the way you are explaining, and it is so nicely, completely engrossed in that mercy of Lord Chaitanya Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. It's wonderful, wonderful session.
Hare Krishna.
Devotees have any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Pranam Prabhu.
Pranam.
Prabhu, I heard that Sukadeva Goswami, if I'm not wrong, even Chatuskumaras were Brahmavadi. So can you explain a little bit of what is Brahmavadi?
Yes. Correct, Mataji, you are right. Brahmavadi means, see, when I say impersonalism, I differentiate an impersonalist from a Mayavadi. I mean, this is the Acharyas are also saying that impersonalists are actually Brahmavadis. Impersonalism is an English word. So they are Brahmavadis. They believe in Brahman, but they do not refute the personal form of the Lord.
Okay.
Unlike
Mayavadis
Mayavadis consider the Lord to be one of the powerful jivas under the control of Maya.
Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you, Professor. Yes. Got it. Thank you.
Prabhu, can you just throw some light on last week's discussion which we were doing? If we can take...
Last week's question was basically this, that when Lord Chaitanya showed the 400 form and then he showed the 200 form, what is the implication? And I actually discovered from chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, as well as from NOD, that the Narayan form, the 400 form, is inclusive, is part of the 200 form. For example, see, when Lord took birth in Mathura, he took birth in a 400 form, complete 400 form. He appeared, and then because of the desire of Devaki, his mother, he took a 200 form, a 200 small child form. So that 200 child form then obviously got merged in the 200 form of Yashodanandan. That we have known, we have come to know from Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the 200 form of Devaki Nandan and 200 form of Yashodanandan, they merged. And then all the pastimes took place. So from that point of view, the 200 Yashodanandan form includes the 200 Devaki Nandan form, and the 200 Devaki Nandan form is actually the 400 Narayan form.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, ultimately, we understand. 200 form.
Yeah, correct, bro. We understand this. Since all the incarnations, the source of all incarnations are Krishna, and in that case, the 200 form or 400 form or 600 form or 800 form, he has a choice to show any form. But for the understanding of the neophytes, so they may come to conclusion that you see, this is a proof that Narayana is the source. From Narayana first he showed, then from Narayana only Krishna is coming. So this is a proof. So from that perspective, just we're trying to
see, I'll tell you very interesting. If you know chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, we have done chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita during our Bhakti Shastri. Then later on, I came to realize there is a different angle also. For example, Arjuna was given Divya Drishti. Why was Arjuna given Divya Drishti? When he was seeing Krishna in front of him, so obviously he had Divya Drishti. So again, another Divya Drishti. What was the reason? Anyone knows the reason? Why again Divya Drishti? If I'm seeing Krishna, so I have Divya Drishti. And I know that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, Param Brahma, Param Dham, all that he has said. And then again, he is given Divya Drishti. What is this going on?
Understanding Krishna is not easy. So for that, we need a special mercy.
But Arjuna? What special mercy does Arjuna need?
Yeah, Arjuna is representing all of us.
Hare Krishna. No, by that time, Arjuna was no more all of us. He had already understood. He is like, Krishna is Param Brahma, Param Dham, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. In chapter 10 only. And he has also learnt all the opulences of the Lord. Actually, I'll tell you, when the universal form is inclusive inside Krishna, universal form is the form of opulence. Krishna is the form of Madhurya. Krishna is a far superior form. The 200 form is a far superior form. And this form which was being shown, the Krishna form is a form of, where there is relationship. What sort of relationship? The relationship of friendship with Arjuna and Krishna. They had this relationship, the Sakhya Rasa. So relationship is shown by the loving form, the Soumya Rupa, the loving form of Krishna. And then Arjuna had to be shown a universal form. That universal form, if you relate that universal form, is actually Paramatma. He was shown Paramatma. And to show Paramatma, he had to be given a lower drishti. So first was Krishna's form. Obviously, like in the end, he showed 400 form and then 200 form, but he began with 200 form. Na? So that is important to be noted. He was given a special drishti because Arjuna had to be brought down from a friendship level to a more mundane level. So obviously, anybody who considers universal form to be supreme is at a mundane level, not at a Arjuna's level. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Makes sense. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
Krishna. Any other questions, devotees?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my pranam. Prabhu, I read in 10th canto of Bhagavatam that birth of Lord Krishna. We know that Lord Krishna born from Devaki, then transferred to the Yashoda place. But there it is mentioned that the Lord Krishna took birth from Yashoda, the last of the lines. So I got little confused that how you understand this. Hare Krishna.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and the Acharyas, they say that Yashoda Mai had two children. She gave birth to two children. One is Krishna, the Yashoda Nandan Krishna, as well as Yogamaya. And when Vasudev, he came over, he brought Devaki Nandan Krishna, and Devaki Nandan Krishna and Yashoda Nandan Krishna, they merged. Yashoda Nandan Krishna is the one who plays on flute, and Devaki Nandan Krishna is actually the one who actually kills all the demons of Vrindavan. And Vasudev obviously took the Yogamaya back to the prison, and you know what happened. So there are two Krishnas involved out here. Now, Jananimas Prabhu, once he was mentioning that whenever Raslila used to take place, then this Yashodanandan Krishna used to throw Devaki Nandan Krishna away, because Devaki Nandan Krishna has nothing to do with Ras Lila. Devaki Nandan Krishna later on will do Dwarka Lila, Mathura Dwarka Lila actually. I mean, that's for him. But all Ras Lila, all the Parakiya Rasa is for Yashoda Nandan Krishna. So there are two Krishnas involved out here. That is the secret which our Acharyas are mentioning.
Prabhu, this also makes sense that when Akrura takes Krishna away from Vrindavana, so he takes only Devakinandan Krishna, not Yashodanandan Krishna, who remains in.
Yes, beautiful. Yes. Because Krishna has said, I never leave Krishna,
Yeah.
leave Vrindavan. But now question is, when Krishna never left Vrindavan, then why were the gopis crying?
So they were crying even when he was there. So that
Hare
continues. Because the mood of separation, because somebody said Akrura has taken Krishna. So that separation, like Radharani and all the gopis are crying, even Krishna is there in front of them also, because they heard that Krishna is left. Like we heard last time that Madhumangals are some story where Madhu has gone away. That bumblebee has gone away. So Radharani was crying. Even Krishna was there in front of her. So yes. I think that is.
There is another part of it, I'll tell you. Krishna had promised, I will return. Now, Krishna has promised, I will return. Even though they are seeing Krishna in front, they are thinking that this is illusion.
They will return. So,
another reason is given. They had so much tears in their eyes that they could not see Krishna in front. So they were continuously crying. And so much was the tears which was falling from their eyes that Yamuna also became overflooded because of all the tear waters. And Krishna was in this place, was in Mathura. He wanted to go to Vrindavan, but because of the river, because the river overflooding, he could not go. So he sent Uddhava. These are some of the
transcendental pastures, which are very difficult to
I have heard. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for clarifying this. Prabhu, we read that Krishna never killed any demon, and the Vishnu the Narayan inside Krishna killed the demon. So now we told that the Krishna never killed a demon, that Yashodanandan Krishna and Devakinandan Krishna do all things. So how we understand that the Devakinandan Krishna killed the demon, or the Narayana inside Krishna killed the demon?
I'll tell you. See, all this happened because Bhudevi was suffering. All these Kamsas and Narakasuras and Jarasandhas and all the Kauravas, they were all Kalayavan. What were they doing? They were doing just like this Ukraine war and this Hamas war, continuously fighting. What is happening to Mother Earth, you tell me, because of all these wars which are going on? Mother Earth is suffering. Similar thing was happening at that point of time also. There was so much of military activity. Mother Earth was suffering. Mother Earth went to Brahmaji. And Brahmaji, along with all the devotees, all the demigods, they went to Kshamudra's, to Shirodakshai Vishnu. And Shirodakshai Vishnu, he did not appear. But in the heart of Brahma, he informed that I am coming down. All right. So then he said, he asked all the, you tell all the demigods to take birth in the Yadu dynasty, and I will come down. So that Shirodakshai Vishnu, actually that means Paramatma, he came down as an incarnation. So that is the reason why when Devaki Mai first saw Lord appearing, she saw 400 form along with all peacock feather and yellow dress and long hairs and all that. So she was wondering if this is the form that Kamsa sees, he will immediately kill you. So you immediately take the form of a small child. So initially, this is Vishnu form only who incarnated. And that Vishnu form is who became a small child, entered into Yashodanandan Krishna. And that Vishnu form child actually was, which you call the Narayan form, who was actually killing all the demons.
Yes, Prabhu,
Except
yes.
maybe Putana case. In case of Putana, what happened? In Putana case, my personal understanding is because Putana was given a very, very elevated position in Goloka, Putana wanted to, one, obviously feed the Lord with her milk. Two, she had poison in the breast. That's a separate issue altogether. But she obviously wanted to caress the child and give him the milk. So Krishna not only took the milk, but took the poison away and took the life air also. But Krishna, by taking all this, took away all the anarthas of Putana. So who did that? And gave her a position in Goloka. So who did that? That my reading is, in case of Putana, most probably Yashodanandan was only functioning. Devotees might have different opinion, different understanding. Maybe you would have heard differently. So anyone can refute me.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Prabhu, Shamsul Prabhu, you want to add something?
No, Prabhu. No. Thank you. I have one. I want to ask some clarification from Prabhu regarding the Vishwarupa Darshan. So Prabhu told Vishwarupa Darshan is a lower. Okay, very good. Agreed. But same thing Prabhupada also writes in the second canto, first chapter. Vishwarupa Vrattrupa Darshan. Vrattrupa form is only meant for the neophyte and non-devotees. The statement clearly written here. Neophyte, non-devotees, it is preferred for them. But my question is, even today we are having Vishwarupa Darshan in Tirupati, first Darshan in Tirupati and Srirangam also. So, can you clear this, Prabhuji? Prabhupada writes like that. It is Vishwarupa Darshan, Vrattrupa Darshan only for non-devotees or neophyte devotees. But even still in Srirangam, we have Vishwarupa Darshan. Tirupati also Vishwarupa Darshan is there.
So that is extremely interesting, because that means Ramanujacharya would have, is so concerned. Ramanujacharya, we know, is so concerned about the suffering souls. So he wants to attract everybody. So through Vishwarupa, he is attracting and then taking them inside to have darshan of Ranganath, have darshan of Balaji. So that is the initial darshan. So to attract the fallen souls. So this is my reading of this Vishwarupa Darshan in these glorious temples.
Yeah, this also first cow, elephant, and horse will get darshan. Then only people allowed to get darshan of the Lord.
Yeah. So we are at mundane level. At mundane level, we get attracted to opulence of the Lord. So once that gets over, because all Vaidhi Bhakti is basically worship of the opulence of the Lord. And then we go into Raganuga Bhakti, which is like guidance to the beauty of the Lord. Similarly, in this, the Acharyas also are expecting us to initially accept the opulence of the Lord and then maybe into the beauty of the Lord. Because Ranganath and Balaji, they are very, very relationship-oriented lords. And a neophyte will not understand that relationship initially. One will require guidance.
Okay. So, still, this point is Arjuna is already elevated devotee of Krishna. So, as per Prabhupada's statement, Vrattrupa is meant for non-devotees. Again, Arjuna, Krishna advising Arjuna to see my opulent form, the Vrattrupa form. So, through Arjuna is explained.
If you note out there, Srila Prabhupada is also mentioning that this particular form Arjuna wanted to see, not just for himself, but for the doubting masses, plus any pretenders who declare themselves to be gods. They are also supposed to be showing the universal form. Lord Chaitanya, for example, he showed universal form. So similarly, any pretender who declares himself to be God should be able to also show this form. That also is mentioned by Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, I want to add one more statement here. Like there are two aspects to Lord's pastimes. One is to show the greatness of the Lord. Second one is to show the sweetness of the Lord. Now, for the neophytes or those even below neophytes or whichever stage they are in, first, Lord wants to attract them to the greatness of to understand, oh, what a great personality. He's a great. So that greatness people understand from the Vishwarupa. Everything is coming from him. He's all these things like Arjuna has seen what we heard from Prabhupada also. That shows a greatness. So once we come to the understanding, to the platform of understanding the greatness of the Lord, then from there we'll be able to understand the sweetness of the Lord. So ultimately, sweetness of the Lord will overtake the greatness of the Lord. That is the ultimate. But people who are neophyte stage, they cannot straight away come to 10th canto. This is why the whole 9 cantos, to understand the greatness of the Lord, to different incarnations and all these things we hear, finally we'll come to the sweetness of the Lord. So that's why Prabhupada also said, understand the greatness of the Lord first, then only you'll be able to understand the sweetness of the Lord. So this is my understanding.
Yes, the words.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Prithakvena and Vishwatamukham. Those were the 3, and Vishwatamukham is this Vishwarup form. The Vishwarup form is what Ramananda Prabhu you mentioned about this, the greatness form. And then finally, obviously, the sweetness form.
Madhurya
form. Hare Krishna. Saumya Rupa.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So thank you very much, Prabhuji, Swarup Krishna Prabhu, for a wonderful session and wonderful discussion we had today. Request you to please glorify Chaitanya Charitamrita to end the session here, and we'll continue next week with Bhaktanath Mukunda Prabhu from verse 239 onwards.
Hare Krishna. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.